Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of Fight to Flight. My name is Mike Hess. This is my beloved wife.
Kelly Becker.
We are the eponymous, I believe is the right word, Kelly and Mike, Fight to Flight with Kelly and Mike. This is our new show, trying to share our experiences and our journeys throughout a lot of chronic conditions. I'm a respiratory therapist who deals a lot with chronic breathing problems, asthma, COPD, primarily, tearing the studio apart.
That was my fault. I just had to cross my legs.
While I'm grabbing this, Kelly, why don't you?
I'm a nurse practitioner and I specialize in obesity. I have a background in cardiopulmonary critical care, but we're not here. This YouTube channel is in no way related to our day jobs. This is just a passion project, a place to share and be with people and be real, and serve as accountability for ourselves, share some of our journey. So it's part vlog, part fun, part, a place to find information. More than anything in this time of isolation, uncertainty, and social injustice, we want to be an ally with everyone and be powerful and inspire and be inspired with hope. So that's our main goal. We just want to be connecting with people in a very vulnerable and authentic and real way, because that's a cherished thing these days.
Yes.
I would say.
So, having dealt with folks who are smokers, having dealt with folks who are carrying around too much weight, having gone through the both of those paths at various points in our lives, we know that there is a lot of stigma, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt when you're dealing with these conditions, and you're kind of always fighting against your own body and fighting against your own health. And when you are experiencing that fight, it's really hard to be your best self and to take flight. Hence, that's where we came up with the fight to flight. And of course, the best nest, that's what we call our home. We like to have a good nest for our kids, and we like to be that support for the community, however we can be. So, also been remiss a little bit saying hello to Kim, checking in from YouTube. We've got our YouTube channel, which as soon as we hit, I think we need 98 more subscribers. We got to hit 100 subscribers to get a real channel name, but you can find us there. You can also find us on our brand new Facebook page. I don't know if that's what I was doing on our walk today.
You're kidding. You were very focused. No, I didn't.
Well, in order to do a lot of the streaming and stuff, you really have to, it's easiest to have a page. As some of you may know, or some of you may find out, I run a page called COPD Navigator, where we've done a lot of live stuff, and that's been part of the change of the last week for me. We'll get into that a little bit, but learned a little bit about streaming here and there. Also, if somebody, I guess we're talking now, I can listen. Our first episode had some really strange audio problems, so I'm gonna just real quick here, being a new channel and all that stuff, just trying to work out some of the kinks and all that stuff, so we're gonna have a little bit of an audio test here. Being a new channel and all that stuff, just trying to work out. Okay, so the audio sounds good this time.
And I clear my throat on cue, as if that's part of it, yeah.
Welcome in, Brian. Brian, our leading
hi.
patron on Patreon right now, patreon.com/bestnest, if you're interested in supporting our work. However, we want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible, so that's certainly not mandatory or anything like that. We just ask, if nothing else, if you would please like, share, and subscribe our various media outlets, so that we can continue to grow and spread our message and help everybody take flight. So
We set some goals last week.
we did.
And though I talk about this and Mike talks about this all day, every day, and we guide each other, we're here to talk about how to make small changes, have that first win, that sense of being effective and, be, inspiring yourself to go to the next thing because, I thought, how many weeks have we been in quarantine now? Or at least at home.
Months.
I mean, since mid-March. And I thought, okay, this is an opportunity for me to go home and get my head straight and put my home in order, put my health in order, get a healthier routine, find better balance. And it continued, and there was uncertainty as there is. And it's scary, and it's different, and it's new. And as often happens when we want to make big change, we'll think, okay, I'll start tomorrow, or I have this time now and it'll be great, but today I want to do the things that just help me relax and cope. And so I've had to kind of forgive myself for not having everything all figured out already. And Mike and I, and sharing that. So we have this opportunity. What we want to do sincerely more than anything is make a difference with people. All that matters when you die is what you did for other people, right? And, how you connect with people. The stuff, the, status, none of that is important. And I think this has been an important time for all of us to really reflect on that. But in the meantime, we've both gained weight, and our main challenge has been obesity our whole lives. And we set some goals, and Mike is better at setting realistic goals. I'll set very lofty goals for myself because I still struggle with some self-shaming and poor self-image and some negative self-talk despite unconditional love here, and we want to share unconditional love with you guys. So I'll tell you that last week I claimed in a very deep voice on this channel, beginning now, because it was about to be the start of June. So, beginning now.
We should probably put a little bit more context on there because we're still growing. People may not know us all that well. We're hoping to bring in some new people.
That's fair.
We've both struggled with weight our whole lives, and I was
not just a little, but a whole lot.
And if you go to our Patreon page, that's our cover photo. It's kind of a before and after deal, and I surprise, but it's the same picture that you share, throughout everywhere, and it's me at roughly 350 pounds, and you at
310, 311 at 5'2".
So. And then that was right before we waddled. We walked a 5K.
Oh, well, for larger folks, we moved.
We did pretty well. We did do pretty well.
I sweat a lot.
We'll give ourselves a little more credit.
Yeah.
I'll give ourselves more credit.
Yeah.
We
did it.
We did it, and that in and of itself is a win. Just getting up and taking those first steps, literally.
Mm-hmm.
We've both had bariatric surgery. Kelly in 2013.
Same year we got married.
And me in 2016. I lost at my lowest. I was down about 150 pounds, and
I went from about 310. My lowest has been 165. I always remember we have a photo of the 50th anniversary Star Trek convention. I think that was the best I squeezed into my shapewear and the cosplay that you were excited about. Where I, by the way, got a nod from when we were there.
You got solidly hit on by Q, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and his real name is?
John Delancey.
Uh-huh. So that's the time I was like, man, one of his sci-fi, people, and I'm squeezed into this shape where I feel pretty good. Anyway, so that's what I remember. But I slowly started to regain weight, and I gained a lot rapidly during this time,
Well, think of how obvious that makes the connection between stress and weight gain,
right?
Or
absolutely.
falling into any bad habit. We focus on weight because that's been our biggest vice, or certainly my biggest vice. I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but that, again, that's been a lifelong struggle for the two of us, and it's probably the most noticeable. And we know that you can obviously speak a lot better to this, but we know there's a lot of evidence between stress hormones and weight and hunger signaling problems and all that kind of stuff. I've listened to you do the spiel enough that I can.
It's true. It's validating, and there are things that can be done to help with that. That's not a matter of sheer willpower.
Yeah.
That's a real biological change.
And so the two
Yeah.
of us, throughout I would say the last year, we started dealing with more stressors. Just clearly nothing that there's a lot of other people that are dealing with worse, but
Mm.
relative to our baseline, they were stressors and frustrations, and just we just couldn't seem like we were getting traction with certain things, and just a lot of stuff going on. And then
Generally imbalanced,
yeah,
just
I mean,
not feeling
our
refreshed.
our
And
stereotypical, our keep up with the Joneses American lifestyle, for lack of a better word for it, that's really not terribly sustainable, in my opinion,
the
anymore.
grind.
Yes, the grind. That's a perfect word for it.
Because we're not working because of, we're not motivated to keep up, but it's just get up, go to work, have the work outside of that, the other endeavors that support other projects, plus kids, plus home, plus sleep, plus, for me, a lot of escaping,
Yeah, yeah. Also, waving to Jeannie. Sorry, didn't mean to
Jeannie.
overlook that. But it was a grind, and it just kind of wears on you after a while. And it's the little moral injuries all the time. You want to do a
Mm.
thing, you want to do the right thing, but the system puts up every conceivable roadblock to allowing you to do the right thing easily. Can you have you shift just a touch?
Oh, I'm leaning on you because I love you.
Oh, well, I mean, no, I'm not. I just want to
We
get,
still like each other.
yeah, no, I just want to get more in the picture.
Oh, well, of
um, but we started dealing with those things, and so we lost some of our good habits. We lost
yeah.
the having the weight loss surgery it should be looked at as a tool, and it helps you get to the place where you learn to do the good habits, and we fell out of that. And then on top of that, for me, one of the biggest things was we played tennis a lot in the morning. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, and I hurt my arm. I had a really bad tennis elbow, and so we stopped doing that I was out for probably a solid 3 months. And again, in the grind and everything else, I certainly didn't follow our own advice and find alternative exercises or anything like that. So I started putting on weight. Yeah, I kind of, started escalating. And then, we were kind of looking ahead a little bit. Finally, my elbow is feeling better. We're starting to get better, back into the habit of going to play tennis, which is in February, in January, February in Michigan means you're going to a gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then March happened.
Right.
The elephant in the room, as I like to call it. And, like many people, pretty much everybody, we locked down. The gyms are closed. The parks are closed. All this stuff is closed. And on top of that is the uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with our careers. We don't know what's going to happen with our friends. We have friends who are literally on the front line. We have friends who, we weren't sure what was going to happen with us. And so we weren't sure what our working conditions were going to be like. And so we fell even further out of our good habits. So long story short, I was back up about 20 pounds.
30. As of today, 1 week ago, I was up 35 pounds from when Q hit on me. 30. No, 30. I know that the number went 165 to 195.5.
And so part of our goal and why we're doing all this is to have some of that accountability back. We want to share, our journey toward being healthier, living our best lives too, so that maybe we can share, first of all, that we can tell you that even the people who should know don't always know or don't always do. And so
it's my full-time job. I counsel all day, every day, and I mean everything I say. Hopefully the authenticity and my real falling down and picking myself up has value.
That's the key.
That's part of why we're even putting our mugs up here.
If we fall down, the people, again, the people who know better, if we fall down, it's perfectly natural for anybody to fall down. So we set some goals to, was it 6 weeks until 4th of July? We wanted to be back pretty close to our goal weight.
Kind of like 6 weeks to freedom or something,
Kind of the long-term goal.
Right.
So, Kelly, how did you end up?
Well, like I said, I made some pretty lofty goals. And I'll say, especially since we have friends, family, and contacts that know us for a lot of different reasons. I will admit I have an addictive personality, so I've struggled with obesity my entire life. I quit smoking. I had a 5 year pack year history, a pack a day habit, um, out of high school and into early college when stress was there. And so I quit smoking in 2003, the year I bought my house. Um, so I remember quitting smoking and what that took. There were times Mike would joke if I go to a casino, I'm like Danny Ocean's. It's kind of go big or go home. I've been doing a lot of online shopping. I did spend 24 days of April with no alcohol because, as can happen, we can transfer addictions to other types. And I can say that I have an alcohol use disorder, and I didn't see that coming. That was never of interest to me. I always thought my issue was food, and then later it was smoking for a while, or maybe it was shopping, maybe it was anything to do with my dog. So I made these lofty goals, and I said I wanted something really big. So I said I will walk 5 miles every day, even if it's broken up. For every day in June, I will completely eliminate all alcohol. I will get all my water, vitamins, and practice my sleep hygiene, and I will practice some intermittent fasting protocols. Okay, that's a lot.
That is a lot. I mean, that's when we
And guilt was fueling that.
well, sure, and I think that it's probably safe to say that happens to a lot of people. I mean, and I hate to be this guy, but the media kind of feeds into that a little bit because they have these, your 6 week body makeover and your all these different things. But you were mentioning this is your job. How sustainable is that to have all of these changes and to set these huge goals and to complete lifestyle makeover in the span of a mere couple of weeks? How practical is that, and how sustainable is it?
We really don't want to set ourselves up for failure. And so I counsel patients, friends, family, anyone who actually asks for my opinion, pick one small, very achievable thing, focus on that, feel how that feels, and then move to the next thing. So we have some wins and losses this week and some good insights, that go back to the things I know because of how I counsel, but what I need to know for myself. Because if, and a lot of my patients share in this, and friends and family, if you're an all or nothing person, or if you make all of these unattainable goals and you mess up one little thing, you will feel defeated no matter what. You set yourself up for that, and then it's like, fine, I'll throw in the towel, or I'll start Monday, or I'll find a new date. And what I've learned, though I am messy, I'm still proud because I've learned to accept the mess. And I've learned that not doing all the things, but doing some of the things is still important. And I still can be proud of that. And I still can build on that. And Mike and I are reconciling our goals, or at least I am, into things more achievable so that we can celebrate what went well. And I can tell you, I want Mike to share some of his goals and how it went. But yeah, I have some really good insights to share. And it almost seems silly that I talk about it, read about it, and boy, have I studied, for years and years and years, psychology, behavioral psychology, motivating factors, nursing theories, and other health disciplines, and Bandura, theories of self-efficacy. I mean, I've studied this, I've lived this, I've read a lot, I've been successful, and I have been unsuccessful. And lessons in life are taught until they're learned. I think the takeaway is accept the mess and celebrate what goes well.
Yes. So Jeannie apparently has given up chocolate, and she's really missing it right now. Brian, I'm hopeful that's a high five, or do you have a question? We do Zoom conferences sometimes, so we have the
Right.
hand raise up there. If anybody, of course, has any questions or wants to share their own story or positive, negative, please feel free to jump in.
Please.
Drop those comments. We love to have an interaction as much as we can with this kind of format. So, what you mentioned, the nursing and knowing all this stuff. Okay, Brian, it is a high five, Brian says. So thank you. We've got two what are kind of becoming favorite sayings. Mine comes from The Matrix. The Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, side note, one of the most underrated actors I think of all time. Love Keanu Reeves, from Bill and Ted all the way up to John Wick. But maybe not that Lake House movie, but was it?
Right.
Yeah, but I digress. There, in the very first Matrix, he and Lawrence Fishburne, who plays Morpheus, also very wise, another fantastic actor, tells him that there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. I mean, you can look at a map or your GPS or whatever, and you can know exactly where you're supposed to go, but you still need to go there. Oops, you need to go to there, as they say.
Tina Fey.
Yes. You'll as we go through this fight to flight journey, you'll notice that we may have a pop culture reference or two scattered throughout for flavor. But yeah, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, and that's again kind of
here today.
That's kind of the key. I mean, it's really easy for there's this dynamic in healthcare where we're the trained professionals. We know what we're talking about. We tell you, the patient, to do a thing. And then you're supposed to do that thing, and then if you don't do that thing, you usually feel bad about it. I talk about that in my clinic a lot, especially with smoking. That a lot of times people aren't entirely honest about how much they smoke, but because we make people feel guilty, or how much if they're taking their meds, if they've taken all their meds or anything like that, because everybody wants to be get the gold star. Everybody wants to be the good patient.
Or they don't want to be shamed and ridiculed.
Yeah. So
I think that patriarchal model is ineffective.
Oh, wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be collaboration, and in order to have collaboration, you've got to have trust. So I have my knowing the path, walking the path. What was yours from last week?
Did I say?
Knowing is half the battle, but
it isn't the only part of the battle.
It's only half the battle.
It's only half.
There you go.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
That really spoke to me. I mean, I like them both in different ways. They kind of say the same thing, but I think they resonate a little bit differently. And so what resonates with one person might be different for somebody else.
Hi, Monica Wagner,
Dr. Wagner joining in.
Yeah, talk about someone with perseverance and goals, and we love her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Emma still will joke, man, Monica is just out there living her best life.
Yeah, you're our hero. Actually,
brilliant pain researcher down in still in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
still in Pittsburgh.
Postdoc.
I PhD prepared. I don't know. Postdoc. Yes.
So. Anyway, welcome.
And also, a fantastic role model, Monica.
Yes.
I've been inspired by a lot of her posts. In quarantine, being responsible with the physical distancing and everything else, still sharing her runs and her walks and uphill and downhill, and went this route today and thought I was going to take it light, ended up pushing it, feel really great. I mean, it's and
not a little bit, like marathons.
Oh yeah,
in the heat. Yeah. Congratulations.
Trying to stay hydrated here, by the way.
So,
speaking of, we do look a little disheveled today.
Oh yes, I've got my sweat mullet still.
We actually did our 5-mile walk moments before coming on live here. We got a little bit of a late start today, as happens on a easy like Sunday morning. But wanted to get our steps in, and we did that. So we just and it's a nice warm day, beautiful day here in Kalamazoo. Another ray of sunshine. We got to walk past. We're doing a lot of birthday parades in the neighborhood today, and I had seen it on Facebook yesterday. They had talked about it in our neighborhood Facebook group, and 13-year-old had her birthday party, and parents were inviting people to just drive by and say hello, and they had Baymax from Big Hero 6.
Another big hero
Ah,
of mine. Baymax is a nurse.
yeah.
So I'm very thrilled. That was exciting. That was fun.
We
There were
hope.
several celebrations.
Yeah, there were a couple. I don't know if one was a grad party or and then
There
there's
was
okay.
a baby in a high chair in a yard. Dad was putting all the good stuff in front of baby there. That was
Ah.
fun. Yeah.
Brian's a big fan of Pittsburgh, and Jennifer Winchester loving the dress.
Oh,
I like that
thanks.
dress. It's a nice dress.
Thanks. I it was a disaster. My left shoulder is still kind of stuck in a position, so I I had Mike peel my walking clothes off, and like a toddler, he has to like take my sports bras and stuff off. My shoulder doesn't have full range of motion and pull them down so I don't cry like a baby. And then I was like, well, what am I going to put on my sweaty body now? And kind of rummaged through things. It's been a while, but I thought I'd be cooling off this way. So thank you. Actually, this was on clearance at my workplace's gift shop a couple years ago. So
We got to figure out the best camera angle because this is a dress that you want to show off. It's got beautiful colors, a nice pattern. So I don't know if you can.
Another day, baby.
Yeah.
Another day.
All right.
We'll have before and afters.
That'll be another victory. But on the subject of victories, you mentioned that the lofty goals are not yet complete.
Yes. Do you want to share your wins, or do you want me to tell my wins first?
I will go whichever order you would like.
All right, I'll share my wins then. I did. So I said I wanted to walk 5 miles every day. We walked Sunday before this first show, and then I walked every day but one. I took Friday off. I had a kind of an injury to a toe, and I wasn't feeling fantastic, and back to hormones and various things. So I walked 6 out of 7 days, and I covered 23 miles and well over 5 hours. So between 5 and 6 hours of aerobic activity. And I tell people, and what the research says is, especially after significant weight loss, physical activity becomes crucial to maintain weight loss. So you were talking about that. And, for those of us who've lost significant weight, we really need to try to be getting at least 5 hours of aerobic activity, at least 40 minutes of strength training per week. And I did hit the over 5 hours. And so my more realistic goal for this next week is I covered 23 miles and at least 5 hours of aerobic activity. I want to cover more than 25 miles. And the miles I'm talking about, because there were days that I got more than that, just in life, but of the intentional, aerobic, continuous physical activity. The goal is more than 25 miles and to maintain at least 5 hours, but it's about 90 minutes for us to walk 5 miles at once right now. We're working on that. And to add in my strength training, which may mostly be my shoulder physical therapy that I haven't been great about. So the goal is to do that at least Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Strength training at least 15 minutes, and schedule that in like an appointment in the morning. I might need Mike's help, so he'll be getting up early with me to help me with that. I did definitely get more water. I was more conscious of food, but I also made some pretty poor food choices. At times, I drank alcohol every day. That's a bigger struggle than I even knew would ever be for me. So while I think Mike and others can moderate, I think it's something that I just have to eliminate, but I wasn't ready. And so when we talk about, quitting smoking and other things, have those other things set up to replace why you're using. And for me, it's anxiety. It's always been anxiety. I've been anxious since I was young. I'm on medications. I have done counseling. I need to do more. But my mood is, so the other win is my mood and energy so much better with that activity. Looking forward to the neighborhood walk, starting to recognize people's lawns and homes, and that's been good. Sleeping, we're both sleeping a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Mood's better, energy's better, and especially in the last part of this week when we've been hitting 5 miles, I don't want as much bad food, And I have actually experienced that endorphin rush like a runner's high, which incidentally does feel better than being drunk. So there's hope. I'm disappointed, and there were times that, I was really frustrated with myself, and I know it causes stress for the people around me who love me. So I have good unconditional support, and I appreciate that. So this week I want to continue getting my water and my physical activity, and more than anything, I'm going to have to eliminate the alcohol beginning tomorrow. Just eliminate for me, because that is a slippery slope, because I have that and then I'm not as productive, and then I feel bad that I haven't been as productive, and then I make poor food choices and I have empty calories, and then I'm not metabolizing the calories I do have. I go to bed early, I miss out on my family. It's really a slippery slope. So what I'll say is, when the last time we went as a family to Art Bayou, I made a cup knowing, I keep trying, just like I tried to quit smoking 20 different times before it happened.
As
And
many people
I,
do.
I tried 1,000 different ways to lose weight, and now I feel like I have, the dream team support. And so now my supplemental activity for when I want to comfort or self-soothe or just kind of numb out due to anxiety, and so I reach for alcohol, is to use this little teacup I made with my initial, but kind of being cheeky. This is my K cup. And I have a lot of good, healthy herbal tea, and so I can still have a drink, and still something warm. After my surgery, I did well with warm fluids to soothe me. And so when I want to have an unhealthy drink, then I have several different amazing teas and a tea kettle, and I'll use my special K cup in a ritual to treat myself, and really be touching base with what's really going on, and think about the big picture. So that's a lot said, but
Well, you bring up some fantastic points. I mean, when I talk tobacco cessation
and drumming,
or vaping, all that kind of stuff, one of the things I talk about is is substitution, distraction and substitution, because it's really easy sometimes to go right from smoking, and then you get into eating a handful of peanuts or mints endlessly or things like that, and again, it's just kind of those empty calories.
When I quit smoking, it was peanut butter.
Now there's a little bit of a different, there's the physiology might be a little bit different, because you're looking for, well, just because it can be, maybe it's not, but the psychology is very similar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for something to soothe yourself. And you had mentioned the phrase transfer of addiction earlier today. When you're relying on, when you're overeating or over drinking or over smoking or over gambling or doing any of the various dependency type activities,
Sleeping.
I think, sleeping. You're soothing, you're self-soothing. It's like a security blanket. And so if you try to immediately get rid of that bad habit without something to replace it, something will sneak in. If you don't have a plan to replace it, like you were saying, with your cup, or going for the walks or things like that. If you don't have a plan to replace the activity, then something else that is convenient will pop in there.
Immediate gratification.
Yeah.
It's easy. Yeah.
And again, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. That's just how we're wired, I think, as people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, thank you for sharing all that. I mean, just being so real. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I've told you, I've been thinking about all the good and bad.
So my goal, I was, because I'm not as, well, I'll say I'm not as optimistic as Kelly is. I know that I am kind of a small ball guy right now, as far as setting goals and things like that. My biggest goal was to get 10,000 steps. When I was first starting on my most successful weight loss journey prior to the surgery and all that, I started walking. I started walking in San Francisco at a conference, and then got home and figured getting up the hills there, I can do the flatness of southwestern Michigan with no problem. So I was a step guy, and I thought, well, that is just as good a place as any to start. So I had set a goal, just like my original goal back in the day. I wanted to hit 10,000 steps every day. I was mostly successful. I have here, I said I would show, I would demonstrate. I have, I can get, there we go. Um, June 1st was that our show, or was that Monday?
Our show was
Our
the
show was
30th.
the 30th?
The 31st.
31st, yeah.
And so it all started Monday.
So Monday, June 1st, I got 84.67. And the second, I got 92.38. And all the time since then, I've gotten at least 10,000 steps. So what I learned from that, I don't know that it was so much of a learning, but a reminding, is that sometimes this stuff takes a little time. You can't necessarily immediately jump into a new thing and get there immediately.
Oh yeah. I am looking at mine. My
We have, as Kelly was saying, it takes an hour and a half for us to total amount of time. It takes about an hour and a half to get to 10,000 steps. Sometimes it's broken up through the day, sometimes it's on the walk, but not everybody has an hour and a half to just dedicate to going for a walk.
And we're just averaging like 17 to 19 minutes per mile. So it's not like we're running or even at the like speed walking pace of 15 miles per hour.
We're not Monica Wagnering it.
Or 15 minutes per mile is like speed walking. We're still working up to that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, still, even that said, 5 miles at 15 minutes a mile, that's still over an hour.
That would be 1 hour 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to shave 15 minutes off.
Yeah.
So and we did some today.
We're fortunate in that maybe we can get up early, or we have these breaks in the day. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has as I well know, not everybody has the breathing capacity to do that. So whatever the goal is, if you need to kind of build up to it, that's why it's a goal. When I talk smoking cessation, we talk a lot all the time about setting a quit date and all that stuff, and that can work for some people. But what you got there?
Yeah, I have to lighten it up.
That can work for some people, but again, if you're just stopping a habit and putting it here. So
that was my map my walk, legit, not making it up. We said we would have objective proof. Yep.
It goes back to if you're chopping off the one bad habit, then you're either not going to be successful, and then you're going to feel guilty.
Yeah.
Or something equally bad is going to pop in there. So build up to it. Build up to your goal. So that set a realistic goal, so that you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
Again, I work with a lot of folks with difficulty in breathing. So it's hard to say, well, your goal should be to walk around the block.
It's all relative to where people are. Meet them where they are. Have realistic expectations for yourself.
Yeah, and if it goes wrong, the thing where that's harder to do, if you don't reach the goal, it's really easy to say, well, I didn't do it. I'm a failure. There's something wrong with me. I might as well give up. I'm just broken, and that's it. What's more important to do is to say, well, why didn't I reach the goal? What were my barriers? It wasn't that I wasn't motivated to do it. Did I not have time? Did I just not have the energy? Did I not have the capacity? Is the goal unrealistic? It's okay to dial your goals back a little bit. You don't want to coddle yourself, so it can be a little bit tricky, but you find that happy medium, that middle way, as our Buddhist friends would say. Find that balance, and with a realistic goal that you can achieve and feel good about.
And when patients will come to me and say, oh, I was afraid to tell you that I did this, or this happened, or or as I'm doing visits now with people during this strange time, and I'll say, I'm so glad you're sharing that with me. I'm so glad that you can be honest and talk about this. I'm struggling too. And so I have a list of things that I send people, kind of, and I've been joking that it's my quarantine care plan, but maybe we change our expectations of ourselves when we're under this kind of stress. Um, or if someone, loses a loved one or has had a huge change, like new job, new marriage, um, child moves out, empty.
Pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, a new health crisis, a financial crisis, um, you know, realizing the bigger picture and giving yourself some space and not expecting perfection. And what I'll say is, I'm so glad you're sharing this with me. And I guess what I'm doing by throwing all this out there to all of you in this way. This is how we learn how to pick ourselves back up, and that we can be messy, we can make mistakes, and you can still win. There's kind of an 80-20 rule. If 80% of the time you're on point, because you're committed to, and in a realistic way, considering the context of the situation. So sometimes people are coming to me and I'll say, you know what, how about you come back in like 3 months when life settles down, and don't run yourself ragged trying to make these huge changes. It's not the right time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not the right time, and that's okay. Do the best you can to nurture yourself and then come back to it. Um, I'm loving that we're having comments. So, but I say this, and then I do feel that people will come back to me with some faith that they'll never be condemned. Certainly, I understand it, but also, I if you know what went awry and you can bear witness to it and share it with another person, and then just feel supported, that's really all that matters. If you can, like you said, if you can even identify, well, this is the thing that didn't go as well. Maybe those barriers can be addressed right now. Maybe they can't. And that's okay. But never, ever, ever give up on yourself. I can't tell you how humbling it is to admit to the people of the world right now, my family, friends, patients, I'm up 30 pounds from my lowest post-op weight, and I never hit my actual goal. Whoa. But I'm sharing this openly because I'm not giving up on myself, even though I'm very critical of myself. But I don't think I'm hopeless. I don't think anyone else is hopeless. You're never too old. You're never too far gone to deserve unconditional love and support, and to make changes that will improve your quality of life. And the other most important thing is defining your worth and success from within. No one else's expectations of you, not society's expectations of you, no one else's timeline, no one keeping score. That has been a very important thing, and something my dear dad wanted me to learn at a young age, and kept trying to reinforce. Find your light from within and define your worth and success from within. And the only thing that matters is that you're finding a way to make yourself proud, and you bring supportive people around you to get there.
Got some support from Jeannie and from Linda McMahon. Thank you very much. Celebrating Kelly's victories there. When I was listening to you, I was thinking of, in healthcare we have these idea of never events, things that should never happen. Of course, it's easy to say because, to err is human, right? Historically, there's been, when you have a never event, somebody gets in trouble. Somebody gets punished because somebody screwed up. In a more modern context, there is a push. I'm not going to say that we always get there to get away from the punitive stuff, but there's a push to do, okay, so this thing happened. Let's do a root cause analysis. And I'm sure it's probably in other businesses too, but when a bad thing happens in healthcare, we try to do this whole root cause analysis thing to figure out what went wrong. What are the factors that contributed to it? Is there a system problem? Is it a training thing? Is it lack of safety, lockouts and things like that? What is it that happens? And so if you don't do your goal, don't punish yourself. figure out what went wrong and figure out how, what barriers need to be overcome. Like I said before, maybe it's an unrealistic goal. Maybe it's something that can't happen. I know that I am never going to dunk a basketball. That's just not who I had 30 years of carrying around 250, 300 pounds. I think if I did that, my knees would literally explode if I landed again. Um, so I'm not going to get mad at myself for not being able to dunk a basketball. I'm going to realize that that's an unrealistic goal, and maybe say if I really want to do that, maybe I get a step ladder out, and then I can carefully place the ball into the hoop. But that's so just
Good analogy. Yeah.
just make sure that you have a realistic goal and you're not setting yourself up for failure. I want to hit up a couple of the comments here. Monica had some great advice for interval training, working great for building up. Go faster for 30 or 60 seconds and slower for 30. Helps build endurance and control heart rate and breathing.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Excellent.
I was thinking about doing that today. Excuse me, if we weren't because we had a timeline to try to get here and get this set up. And so tomorrow we do that sometimes on our vacation on Beaver Island. We'll just kind of jog for some bursts. And so we're going to.
And to a certain degree,
tomorrow.
when we do play tennis, I don't know if that's really interval training because it's really more of a stop and start, but it's similar in that, I mean, when we're playing,
we sprint.
Yeah, you sprint and you sprint and you sprint, and then you're done for a second. Then you sprint, you sprint, you sprint. So, it's funny, though, a couple of the days during the week when I was getting my steps in, we had gone on a shorter walk or something like that, and then I wasn't, I hadn't really gotten to where I needed to be, and so I would walk in place, kind of like we did on Fitness Friday when we were doing the Leslie Sansone for Navigator. But there were a couple of times where I was like, I just want to get this done, so I actually jogged in place.
Yeah, you shook the living room.
Well,
but
I'm
you got your goal.
Not a light guy. I mean, I've lost weight, but I'm still not, I'm not featherweight. And I've never been a joggy kind of guy. I mean, I played football in high school, and that was probably the last time I ran until I started playing tennis again. But I found myself not only doing it, but kind of like automatically doing it. I was like, okay, I'm going to jog now. And I got my steps in, then I was done. And, I think it's because of where we've been with tennis. It's that same idea of, you don't know, you do the interval and then all of a sudden you can do it.
Oh, we can get there. We'll say, woo, I got my wheels. Well, Monica's a really good example of those intervals because we go way back, and I remember when she was first starting to work out, and she was so committed. I had a treadmill here walking, and then, she has been committed for, it's at least 15 years now that I know of, and now training, these long distances. So she has really, thank you for being a glowing example of that. I know she's done a lot of that interval training and really put it to good use. And Linda McMahon talks about liking a treadmill, and I do too. And yeah, then you don't have to carry your O2 tank, but for, it can kind of keep you going and keep you paced, and you can control your environment. And then, like you said, Mike, do you remember the time I was so excited that I had gotten so conditioned with some intervals, like Monica was talking about, that I just wanted to run.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was on the island, wasn't it?
No, I had a blister, so I took my shoes off and I ran a mile in my socks on the gym treadmill, and I tore my feet up. But I was so proud of myself and so euphoric because after a while it's what my body wanted to do. Kind of like when Forrest Gump, you see him run and the braces just come off. That's kind of how I felt. So I'm excited to see what happens in our 6 weeks.
Yeah. So we've got probably about 10 minutes left if anybody wants to share some of their stories or some more suggestions like Monica or Linda. I'd love to hear some more of it. And the treadmill doesn't involve the AM. As Brian says, yeah.
Yeah, whatever time of day works, yeah.
The treadmill, the anxiety. Also a good point. Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the folks who have struggles with breathing, when we look at symptom burden in COPD, one of the questions is when we use a test that looking at symptoms, do you get anxious when you leave the house? Because a lot of people do, because you're out of your comfort zone. You don't necessarily have your equipment, your oxygen, or what have you. And what happens if you get what happens if you get short of breath? What happens if you
Mm-hmm.
start having any kind of attack?
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that. Sometimes it is easier to do it in the comfort of your own home, um, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. The anxiety of will I be able to get home? Yeah.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's a real struggle for a lot of folks. So again, finding the exercise that works for you. Um, I play tennis. I use the dunking a basketball analogy. I'm not good at basketball. If you said that all I can do from now on is do basketball, that's my workout, I probably wouldn't do it because I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's if you told me that I had to run or I had to jog, I probably wouldn't do that because that just doesn't work for me. Find the activity that does work for you because that's the thing that you're going to do.
Yeah.
This past Monday and then coming up this Monday, I do a harmonica support group for the breathing folks. The folks with breathing problems, with person-centered language.
I
Sorry.
should learn that. I should join you.
Yeah. Um, and we talk a lot about, we do the harmonica because it's fun. There are other breathing techniques, but you're not really like producing anything. It's just kind of you're blowing on a device or you're doing the personal breathing. With the harmonica, you're making noise. You're making a song. It's a creative process. It engages more, literally more senses and more parts of your brain. And most people can have a little bit of fun with it. Or can associate it with some positive times because when we play harmonica together, it doesn't always sound the greatest, but we usually have a pretty good time. So you have those
Laughter.
positive, you
Yeah.
have those positive connections to it. So find the thing that makes you positive and you enjoy doing and that you engage with, because that's what's going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I joke with people, I'll run, but I'll run to a ball. I'm not going to run for the sake of running.
Yeah.
Except that my body kind of liked that little trot. But,
Yeah,
I had to work up to that. Mike, I said a lot, and I tend to be verbose, as we know. I'm not sure we heard your goals for this week.
I haven't set them yet.
Right, so I didn't want to overlook
one
that.
one thing I want to do is, we're on a weight loss journey.
Oh yeah, we haven't shared that because
Exactly.
that's not the most important part.
We kind of shared how well. I mean,
It's a measure,
Oh,
but
yeah.
our behavior changes, and
yeah.
that's that's why I didn't think that that's the first thing we would share is what happened.
No, and
because
I
that's,
misheard you right there.
Yeah.
I was going to emphasize the very point that you're making.
Okay.
So we're on the same page. It's not
we're grossly married. Yeah, it's just
what your word for, working in obesity medicine. A lot of times people focus on weight,
Mhm.
on the number. What are the other things that you talk about?
non-scale victories
Non-scale victories. Because
and
those.
behavior changes
Yeah.
and improved quality of life just with any chronic disease. Right?
But yeah, I mean that's why the weight isn't necessary. To go back to Brian for a minute, talking about some of his respiratory numbers, he said that you should know the number, but you shouldn't let the number tell you who you are. And I think there's a solid argument to be made with weight too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I look right now, and I'm too. Well, last week I was 230 pounds. I weighed 230 pounds at various points in high school, and they were a lot different, just because
Oh.
my bone density is different. I think I wear smaller pants at 230 as an adult and then 230 as a teenager.
Yeah, I wear a size 8 at 170, 165, 170, and I had to be 135, 140 as a sophomore in high school to wear an 8.
So weight, BMI,
different.
those numbers, they can be tools, but much like one of the things I like to talk about is it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have this part of the weight is this part of the picture, and BMI is this part of the picture, but also pant size is one side is one part of the picture.
We've been bodybuilding carrying extra weight. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, his BMI is 34. That's class 1 obesity, working on class 2. He's not over fat. Good God, So not all of us are going to have a normal BMI or be in the normal ranges, nor should we. We're going to look bad, look sick. It's all relative. Your goal weight's where you're happy, healthy, feel good, and you've reduced some of your risks. But I mean, those numbers are only part of it, a small part of it, really.
That said, that is part of the goal. And thank you, FAMS. Really, talk about rock stars.
I know, FAMS.
Come on, Matt. Um, for
We
those of
got
you who don't
T-shirts,
know,
right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
FAMS is
Thanks for
not
the.
only an outstanding respiratory therapist, but literally runs a global foundation for to support people around the world, and does incredible charity and outreach work, and is truly a role model for anybody looking for one or not, I guess. But
I would like to meet you in person someday when it's safe.
oh, he's such
Yes.
a nice guy.
I know. That's all you're saying. I'm jealous. So anyway.
I still love that picture. I saw Andy Schwartz pop up a little while ago. One of my all-time favorite pictures is back in the days when we used to be able to travel. I went out and spoke at the Massachusetts Society for Respiratory Care and got a picture with FAMS and with
I remember
Andy.
you
And
look so happy, like a little kid.
I mean, it's like, they're my people.
Yeah.
I knew I want to meet everybody I know on Facebook, because you get to know
Yeah.
folks from a distance, and you just want to, know your people. So
Yeah.
anytime, FAMS. Thank you for joining in. Thank you. But like I said, that said, weight is part of the number, and I am happy to announce that I actually did lose 3 pounds this week. Again, not making massive changes. My big goal was to do steps, and taking an extra hour out of my day instead of sitting on the couch playing Mario Kart or Fallout or something like that. Got up and walked. And with one relatively minor change in routine, lost 3 pounds. As you mentioned before, sleep is a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Mood is better,
Oh, yeah.
which I've needed this week because I've had some professional changes. We're going back to work. I've really been enjoying doing daily live shows, and I'm having to give that up right now because I got to go back to and paying the bills and all that stuff. Um, and that was a stressor, because we still.
You're grieving.
I
You're
absolutely,
grieving. Yeah.
absolutely, and I still am. I mean,
I know.
this is the kind of stuff that in the quarantine, because I'm privileged enough to have all the basic needs met and all that stuff. It puts into perspective what you really want to do, and one of the things that I really want to do is be more of a creator type. It's something I have longed to do for a long time, but I've been able, with my daily shows and stuff, I've been able to do a lot of creative stuff. I've been able to integrate you and the kids, and we've learned a lot of stuff. We've been able to play together, and it's been really interesting.
I love the people we meet and the regular people who tune in that we're seeing here.
So I'm hoping to get back to that before too long. Kim, we thank you very much, Kim. Kim says, you've both inspired me. My goal this week is to eat a healthy breakfast. I usually skip it and make poor choices later. Now that's an interesting thought. I'm trying to think of how to put this. Why don't you? So we're always taught that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? I have tried, to a certain degree, kind of this whole intermittent fasting thing where you're supposed to stop at a certain time and then you don't eat until noon. And that's really kind of worked for me. I found that oftentimes I'm not particularly hungry in the morning.
Yeah, I have to reconcile this because every person's different.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you're someone who's absolutely not hungry in the morning anyway, ever, and then you don't make poor decisions, so say you have an eating window of noon to 8, and this is some fairly new research, fairly new research that's been vetted, but, I went to an obesity conference in San Diego 2018. Yeah. And the other nurse practitioner and I saw Dr. Jason Fung talk about intermittent fasting and how, and this kind of goes against some of the things we've learned. We might have been told always have breakfast or eat, 6 to 8 small meals a day. And then if we have metabolic disturbances that are so common, like insulin resistance, the more we feed, the more often we feed, the more we release insulin. That's the fat storing hormone. Many of us are resistant. So every time we feed ourselves, we're kicking out extra insulin. And so maybe our blood sugars always look fine, but we're tired, cranky, gaining weight, and all these things. And it's the fat storing hormone and prevents the breakdown of fat. So the more often or the more you have, the more insulin you release, and then it can be harder to lose weight. But not all of us have that same
Right.
thing, and we all metabolize differently, and there's, genetics and circadian rhythm and a lot of different things. Needless to say, we were interested and compelled by this when we came back home. And my colleague Lynn, who, we work in the same environment, we are both family nurse practitioners, we both had the gastric sleeve in 2013, like controlling for some things. And she was like, Kelly, I couldn't drive to work if I didn't have breakfast. I've got to have breakfast. Or so she really does not feel well if she were to do something like that. So it's not for everyone. And then we have patients and we counsel a lot of people have at least 10 to 20 grams of protein within an hour or two of waking. And that can help with energy and jumpstart metabolism and, try to start, have a good protein source. That's what I'll say. That's a great idea. So I'm not trying to, Kim, I'm not tearing down what you're saying.
No. I just
where some people might feel like, man, I have been told. If you're someone that, if you have a high protein lunch, say you do try this, eating window of 8 hours where you have lunch at noon and you stop eating by 8, and if you can make good food choices and physically feel good trying that, and you just have your morning coffee without a lot of sweeteners or tea or something like that, and you feel good and you feel empowered, that is, the research is out there. But I will say a lot of people just feel better, fueled, and especially with that breakfast having some protein. So I think that's a great goal.
Oh, yeah.
And I have people all the time that'll, they'll just get, or if they feed themselves well at breakfast, they are fueled and have more energy, and that gets things going. They might get busy throughout the day, and they'll say, well, if I don't have anything in the morning and I kind of forget at lunch, then I want everything that ever was. And that is also a very common thing. So if that helps set you straight, especially, I think that's a great goal, and thanks for sharing it. And yummy.
And
love breakfast.
I've kind of straddled both sides, because for a long time that's kind of what I would do for breakfast. What I would either do, I would make my own protein shakes, drinks, because I'd use the powder in a flavored drink mix or something like that, because I just got so tired of like the chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, or I would have a protein bar. Looked at it carefully, made sure it wasn't too many carbs. It was like an actual protein bar and not like a souped up granola bar or anything.
Right.
And those would work really well for me too.
Actually, yeah, and I've shared that when he would add that protein source at breakfast. And we do that a lot on vacation. We were like good at it because we weren't as stressed. Where if you had nothing or you had something less healthy, your weight, and we were pretty active with tennis and all of that, so your weight was not changing, but then you added that 20 grams of protein as breakfast, and you were at first like losing a pound a day. That's how much fueling the body in general, and with good, the good macronutrients, can make a really big difference. And for some people, if they don't start at that time of day, they won't get that. For most people, minimum 60 grams of protein in a day.
Well, and so the moral of the story, as it usually is there's not going to be a one size fits
all.
Oh,
no. We get lots of questions, and quite appropriately, and everyone's got advice on how you should do this and that. And I when I work with people, it's always adapting to what works for you. Again, that collaborative model. It isn't, I have this cookie cutter, one size fits all plan, and I read this one article, and so or I'm financially invested in blah, blah, blah. No. And what works for me now at 42 is not the same thing that worked at 22.
And it won't be the same thing that works at 62.
No, right.
So I think my goal for this week, I am going to, again, keep it relatively tame, I guess. Maybe I should be shooting higher, but I'm adding in one step at a time. I'm going to continue doing my steps. And you put that protein goal out there. My goal is to now start tracking my food a little bit more carefully, or at least the macronutrients part of it. I'm going to hit 60 grams of protein every day next week.
A minimum of.
minimum
Very good.
of
Yeah.
60 grams of protein every day next week.
Especially with being this active and in the heat, you
Yeah.
know, hydration, check, we've got that. And our vitamins, our, yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta be better at taking my daily stuff. So I'll throw that in there too. You know, that'll be, you know, that's the stretch goal. That's I'm gonna get at least 60 grams of protein, and I'm gonna take my meds that are lovingly sorted all the
We'll
time.
take them together in the morning. Because, yeah, we have a whole schedule. But anyway, we'll do that
Well,
together.
because I totally spaced out that when I went back to work, I thought I had been taking them, but then I noticed that the days that I went to work this week, I didn't take my pills
And
because
your loving wife sorts them in a
right.
handy little sorter. So, we know.
So that's how I knew. It was like, oh, I guess I'm not doing a good job. So, but we
We did a
fall
lot of
down
good things.
to learn to pick ourselves
I
up.
lost 3.3 pounds. I don't know if
Yes.
I said that.
No, not yet. I was going to throw, after I did my
Huh.
goals, throw that to you. So 3.3. Well done.
Yep. Healthy rate of loss is a half a pound to 2 per week. And as much as I have to lose and as much extra water weight as I've had because of some other things, I could have lost more and even safely, but I'll take it.
But
You know.
again, it comes back to the sustainability.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you can certainly have, you know, if you were to do diuretics and stimulants and all that stuff, I mean, you could have dramatic weight loss in a week and then put it all back on the next week.
Yeah, the diuretic part scared me because some people will just take water pills on their own and then lose potassium. And
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it is, again, whatever habit you're trying to change, it's got to be in a sustainable fashion.
Oh, another thing. I had a patient tell me this. If any of you know or you've had kids that wrestle, as if we didn't have enough. I mean, we could have a whole show on the importance of quality sleep and how that relates to.
And we will.
Yeah, and yeah. So we hold on to that a little bit. But I said, are you sleeping well? Because sometimes people will lock in great nutrition, great activity, even have meds optimized and vitamins and minerals and hydration and all of that. But if they're not sleeping well or they're super stressed out, the body won't release. It'll just hold on to save you from that crisis, you know, keeping that extra fuel to like save you. And then not having good restorative sleep is so important. And she said, wow, that makes good sense because my son, when he'd have to get a good weight to weigh in for his class for wrestling, they would go to bed early. Like that's one of the, you know, I'm thinking of like, you know, how there are unhealthy ways to lose weight. But one key thing she'd say, they'd all go to bed and like try to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep or something like that. And she said, it really works. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it has a lot to do with everything. So for some of us, the first most important thing is find a healthy way to blow off steam, or a little self-care ritual with a little K-cup or something, and you know, get some damn sleep.
Yeah. All right. The K-cup. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in to our new initiative here. Our other goal for next week is to have a new background. We've gone from the traditional COPD navigator transporter room background to, as John Oliver might put it, a gray void.
Yep.
We're looking to get some more backdrops and all that stuff. We're also looking at what, you know, our as we mentioned a couple of times during the show, we want this to be collaborative. We can't. We don't know what problems are unless people tell us. So, you know, if you're down for listening to us spout off for a while, that's fine. But please give us some ideas of what topics you might like to see addressed.
Yeah, we care more about that.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. I mean, we want to hear what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
The goal for this is again to share, not just to kind of hype ourselves up, but to share our experience and whatever knowledge we've gained on either side, on both sides of the stethoscope, so that everybody can, you know, again, take flight and live their best lives. So,
Absolutely.
Any other closing thoughts?
Just, I'll say for myself, and I'll say for everyone else again, learning to accept your mess, and no matter how many times you fall down, you can pick yourself back up,
Yes.
and there are people and to always support and love unconditionally, and we learn the most from how we persevere through adversity. And Lord, the universe knows there's adversity, and
Yes.
so we're learning alongside you, and appreciate all the insights, because we all need hope again, and we need to know that it can be messy, and there are still good people and good things happening. So I think I want us to forgive ourselves for being imperfect, to never lose hope in ourselves, even if we've fallen, and to restore faith in each other.
Well said. Yeah, it's a great place to wrap things up. Fams, thank you. He says, I love that we're so open about many aspects of life and being ourselves. Changing his notifications to catch us. Thank you very much. We will be back again next Sunday, probably live. This is the easiest way to go about it right now,
I don't
frankly.
have time to
Easiest
record
on
and
me,
edit
yeah.
yet.
The big ask for right now is like, share, and subscribe on Facebook and on YouTube, so that we can actually get a Best Nest channel instead of a random string of numbers. That would be helpful. Share with anybody who you think might benefit from sage words of wisdom from respiratory
Or laughing
therapy.
at us.
Yeah,
I mean, just laughing at
that's
us.
better. I mean,
my big ol' eyes. I'm seeing my big ol' eyes. Woo. Jennifer,
relaxation and stress management.
you got it. And she, Jennifer Winchester here, if anyone's on the Facebook Live, runs an amazing cardio drumming live group that is a great way to blow off steam as well.
So thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, everybody else, for spending some of your Sunday with us. Again, this has been Fight to Flight with Kelly and Mike. I am Mike, the respiratory therapist.
Kelly, the obesity specialist and patient.
Like, share, and subscribe our stuff. Check us out on Patreon, and let us know what is on your mind. Share your success, your whatever you want to talk about. Share all those things. You can send us a message on our Best Nest page on Facebook. I guess I should work on getting the email set up too, huh?
Yeah, because if other people set goals and they plan to tune in, let's all celebrate next week.
Yes, so come next week ready to celebrate you achieving your goals. Kim, I'll be looking forward to hearing what you had for breakfast this week.
Yeah.
Anybody else, check out, set some goals and share them next week. And we'll all have, we'll reduce stress. We'll do some stress reduction by celebrating each other.
Right. And we could put a link to Jen's cardio drumming class on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we will do that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Thanks for being here. We had more than us here today. How exciting.
Yeah, it was, and I think we sounded okay. I think our audio worked okay.
Better than last week. You needed to dial 1-900 to get us last week.
All right, gang. We will see you next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Bye, friends.